Welcome everybody. Today we're diving into something that's been on my mind a lot recently because I've covered it a lot with people, just a ton over the last little bit, and that's how you can awaken your dormant superpowers and gifts. Like even if you feel like you're stuck, because you know that feeling when you're stuck in that grind, when you're questioning whether anything really matters at that point, is it worth it? You know, when you know there's something more inside of you, but you can't quite figure out what it is, let alone how you can get it out into the world. Like if you are nodding yes to any of that, then you are not alone. I hear it all the time from parents who are balancing, different demands of raising children, entrepreneurs who are grinding, keeping things moving forward, employees who are putting in crazy hours, all feeling stuck in this cycle that keeps them from unlocking what makes them truly them. Now, here's the truth that nobody, is going to tell you. No one talks about enough is that your gifts, your superpowers, like those things, they're already inside you. The thing that makes you you and that you can contribute so much, it's already inside of you. It's already there. It's not missing. It's not broken. It's just buried. It could be hiding in plain sight. The stuff that you do naturally, you don't even realize it's, because you don't even realize it's special because it's so natural to you. I mean, I've been there too. Like when you're stuck in that survival mode, it's tough to show up as a parent or as a spouse or as a leader. It's tough to feel passionate about what you're working on or passionate about your business. It's tough to show up to work and feel like you have any real spark left. Now, the good news is that you're actually way closer than you think. That little spark of purpose that you might still feel, you can turn that into real momentum, and that's what I want to cover today. Now, my name is Jake Talbert. I'm the founder and author of this book called The GIVER Method. Now, it's an Amazon bestseller, has tons of 5-star reviews. It's been totally transforming people's lives. I'm going to put a link in the description where you can go get it on Amazon, The GIVER Method. It's $10. It's the best $10 you could invest in yourself, helping you to transform your life through the way you give, the way you show up, how you identify your gifts and superpowers and create value for people so you can live a more fulfilled life. Now, if you're not ready to invest that $10 in yourself, I'll also put a link to a free resource called The Giver's Roadmap that you can get access to, where it's kind of the entry-level steps to the Giver Method. Now, I make nothing off of either of those, so it's not like I'm doing this for me. I'm doing it for you. There's so much value and things you can take away from that. So I highly recommend that at some point during the video, you go down to the description and you click the links to go get either the Giver Method book or the Giver's Roadmap, okay? Because also over the next 10 minutes, what I want to do in this video is I want to share these 9 steps and principles that are going to help you to uncover and activate those hidden gifts, even if you're crazy busy, even if you're stuck in survival mode, and even if right now you're doubting whether you have anything unique to offer. These aren't just feel-good ideas. They are real-world strategies that have helped thousands of people get unstuck and finally start living from this natural strengths that they have in them. Now, of course, before we jump in, if you are new here, if you haven't done so already, please hit subscribe, ring that bell for notifications. We don't want you to miss out on any of the videos that we put out that are designed to help you to unlock your gifts or create the impact that you're meant for. Okay, so let's dive in. Let's start rolling through these principles as quickly as we can. Now, the first one is that you notice your effortless excellence. Like, these first things that we have to dive into is we start noticing these effortless excellence. There we go. I said it right that time. The crazy thing is that some of our most valuable gifts are hiding in plain sight and you don't even see them. Now, you may ask why? And that's because they come so naturally that we just assume they're no big deal. Psychologists actually look at it as, they call it strength blindness. When we're so wired to overlook what feels easy, instead we beat ourselves up about what we find hard. So think about it. Maybe you're the one who can calm the room when tensions are high. Maybe you're, can explain messy ideas in ways that actually make sense to people. Maybe you can spot the patterns and solutions that maybe no one else has seen within the chaos. Like this stuff, it's not normal. It's your superpowers showing up. So here's what you want to do. It's a simple fix to start spotting them, because that's going to be the first step. For the next week, every morning, write down one thing that you did the day before that just felt effortless. Probably we've been through, something tough with someone else. We went through something. We had a great conversation. It could be that you smoothed out that family meltdown. You solved a problem at work that no one else could crack. It could be that you connected with someone who needed it. Like, just set a little reminder on your phone to pop up each day and say, well, what did I effortlessly do that made a difference? And then after a few days, start looking for the patterns that show you where your real strengths lie, because most people are going to miss the gifts because they're too busy chasing what feels hard. But real impact, it's built on what already comes natural to you. You can't use what you don't see, and so this helps you start seeing it. One of my favorite studies that I ever talk about is where they went in with an executive board, sat down, gave them each piece of paper, and they said, I want you to write down, what are you the best at? Each person wrote down maybe 1, maybe 2 things, and went around the room and they shared. And then they went back around the room and they said, all right, everybody else, we'll talk about Jake here. Like, what does Jake do best? And instead of 1 or 2 things, the list was 5, 10, 15 things long. It's because we just don't realize those things that are just natural strengths to us. We don't see them. And so this is designed to help you at least start spotting them so that you can start taking it to that next level. Now, the next thing you can do is you can always ask yourself some very specific questions. Like, there's a little secret. You don't have to figure this out on your own. Chances are the people around you already know what you're great at, even if you haven't seen it yet. And the truth is that we're often way too close to our own strengths to completely recognize them. So it's like if you try to read the label from the inside of a jar, you're not going to do so well. But the people in your life, like they've been leaning on your gifts. They've been learning from you for years. So they just haven't called them maybe superpowers or called them out to you yet. So what you want to do is just grab your phone and go text 3 to 5 people you trust, maybe family member, coworker, sibling, client, whomever, and just say, like, what do you think of me? What's something you always rely on me for? If you were going to refer someone to come talk to me for something I could help them on, what would it be? And then just listen, like watch what they're saying and look for the patterns in what they say. Pay attention to anything that pops up, maybe more than once or catches you off guard. Those little surprises are often the gifts that you've been blind to. Now don't just focus on the surface. If someone says like they can count on you for advice, like the real gift might be your wisdom. You might be the way of seeing a bigger picture or how you can make complicated stuff simple. It's like, okay, well, advice, like, what do you mean? Like, have them describe it a little bit more for you. Sometimes your own doubts get so loud that we forget what's real, and hearing straight from the people who know us, like, it's going to cut through that noise and start seeing ourselves way more clearly. Now, the third thing is you want to track your energy, not just your time, because here's the deal. If you want to wake up these gifts that are inside of you, you have to stop managing your time and pay attention to the energy that you have. Most of us grew up thinking that we should focus on what we're good at. But just because we're good at something doesn't mean that it's good for you. The real clue is finding your hidden superpower. Like, it's the stuff that fills you up instead of drains you. It builds up that energy. Even when things are hard, it gives you energy instead of sucking you dry, right? It's when you're using your gifts, you're way more likely to hit that flow state that they talk about, where you're feeling like time just disappears and you're completely locked in. And afterward, do you feel wiped out? No, you feel even more alive. So for the next week, try some simple check-ins at the end of each day, like what gave me energy today? What drained energy from me today? That's it. Just 2 quick lists, and start looking for the patterns. Like, it's going to be super easy to start finding that. Like, if you're running a business, you might notice that you light up when you're building new ideas, but crash after handling admin work. Like, if you're a parent, it might be creative projects with your kids, leave you buzzing, but being the ref in a sibling fight wears you out, or if you're at work, maybe pitching ideas get you fired up, but the endless spreadsheets suck the life out of you. Like, once you know what it is, then create energy zones in your schedule. Like, even on the busiest days, try to plug into one energizing activity, even if it's just for 15 minutes. It keeps your gifts awake and working even when life starts to get really crazy for you, because true gifts don't drain you, they feed you. And that's often what we need to help push us beyond getting from that feeling of feeling stuck. Now, the fourth thing you can do is you want to create this, what's your personal highlight reel? Because, if we're honest, most of us aren't pros, we are pros at beating ourselves up over things that we did wrong, and letting those things linger for us for a long time. But when was the last time that you actually studied what went right? That's building this personal highlight reel is all about. Every success that you've had, big or small, leaves behind clues about the gifts you've probably not been, giving yourself enough credit for. So the moments you're most proud of, they aren't random. They're going to be those windows into how your superpowers are already showing up, even if you're not seeing them. So instead of asking yourself, well, what am I good at? Which usually leads to overthinking, flip it to well, what actually worked? And why did it work? And when you shift from guessing to seeing the evidence, it's a whole lot easier to spot what's been going on the whole time. So you just take a few minutes and list out, what are the 5 proudest moments you've had from the last year? What are the big wins or the small wins? Whatever stands out. And then for each one, ask yourself, well, what gift or strength could I have been using there? And then go a layer deeper, look for use what I call the 5 whys. So keep asking, why something worked until it hits real hard. If you're crushing a team project, maybe it's because it wasn't just about hitting deadlines. Maybe it's because you made everyone feel heard and valued. Maybe that the points, to the deeper gift, you created safe spaces for people to do their best work. Chances are you start seeing that the same few gifts are showing up across different moments. That's not by accident. That's that superpower waving at you and being like, hey, this is it. Come start using it more. The best moments aren't lucky breaks. They're proof that your strengths that you already have. And so you can spot these patterns of these wins, and you're going to not be stuck guessing anymore what these gifts and superpowers could be. Now, number 5, we talked earlier about that flow state. We got to find it. In those moments that you're so locked in, you completely lose track of time. Like, it's not checking the clock. I'm not counting down until I can stop. Like, you're just there and in it. You're fully alive. You're focused. Like, that feeling isn't random. Your gifts show up loud and clear. So flow happens when you're doing something that hits that sweet spot, and it plays with your natural strengths, and it challenges you enough to keep you fully engaged. It's like your brain saying like, hey, this is what I'm here for. I'm built for this thing. So when you find those flow states, you're catching a glimpse into the superpowers that you probably are too busy to notice. So start paying attention to when that flow happens. Whenever you catch yourself, totally absorbed, like, whether it's solving some sort of tricky problem, creating something, new, leading a conversation, like, just hit pause afterward and ask yourself, like, well, what was I doing? What strength was I using? And like, what made it so locked in for me? And then write it down. Start keeping like a flow journal, nothing fancy, just some quick notes, maybe on your phone. Over time, you're going to start being able to go back and reflect. All these things are about reflecting and looking at the patterns that are there. What are the creative things you did? What are the puzzles you solved? How did you bring people together? Those are the patterns that are like the arrows pointing straight towards those natural gifts and superpowers. Because flow isn't just about doing stuff you love. It's about doing the right kind of hard things. It's kind of things that make you better without draining you dry, and continue to build up those energies. Now, the 6th one I love talking about because so many people feel disconnected from it, and that's this reconnection to your childhood joy. So if you rewind the clock back a second, before life got loud with responsibilities and expectations, like, what lit you up as a kid? And not just in like a nostalgia way, like, let's look at it from like the clues that are going to be there. Like, before the world started piling you up with the shoulds, the things that you should be doing, what should you study? What should you pursue? Like, what should you care about? You just naturally followed your gifts. Kids are wired to chase what resonates with how they're built. So even though most of us grow up and we have these, we bury all of these instincts under the busy schedules and the practicality of what we're doing, like, the core wiring doesn't go away. It's still there, just waiting to be noticed. So let's take a little trip back. Like, take some time to think about it. Like, make a simple list of what completely absorbed you between the ages of maybe 5 and 15. Like, what did you love doing before anyone told you what needed to matter to you? And then maybe reach out to someone who knew you back then. Maybe it's your parent, a sibling, or an old friend, and say like, well, what was I always doing when I was the happiest? Like, what did I just seem to be naturally good at back then? And key is to not try to literally recreate the childhood hobbies. You're just looking for the essence that's underneath them. If you love building forts, maybe you're wired for creating things or for problem solving. If you're, as a kid, you love to organize games, like, maybe you've got leadership within you. Like, just find one small way this week that you can reconnect with an old spark. And even if it's just for 10 minutes, stretch, write, organize something, build something, go play, do something that just reconnects you in that sort of a way. Before the world told us that, what we are supposed to be, what you should be, you already knew who you were. And so those early joys, they're not random. There's those signposts that are going to be pointing you back towards the things that are in you, so authentic that you could pull them out as these gifts and superpowers. Now, our 7th one is that you want to use gifts in tiny ways daily. So as you start spotting them, the next move is you don't wait till you're perfect with them. Don't wait for a big stage moment to show it off. Like, just start small, do something today. One of the biggest traps that people fall into is overthinking what those are, or trying to plan out the perfect time to go and act. Like, when we get stuck in our heads analyzing every angle, we wait until we're feeling ready, or 100% sure of what the gifts are. Like, but gosh, let's just be real. You don't have to figure it out by thinking about it. You actually figure it out by doing it. That self-awareness doesn't come from just sitting around. It comes from taking action and then paying attention to what clicks. So just pick one thing, start noticing. It doesn't matter if you're 100% sure yet. Just pick one of the things you think it could be and find a tiny way to use it. And gosh, if encouragement is your thing, then shoot a quick text to lift somebody up. If you're wired for organization, take 5 minutes to clean a space around you. Maybe strategic thinking is your jam. Like, cool, sketch out a rough plan for something that you've been rattling around in your head. Just make it small enough that it doesn't have to trigger overwhelm, but it's real enough that you can feel it. And then pay attention. Like, did it energize you? Did it feel natural? Did you slip into it faster than you would have in other types of things you may have been doing? Like, those are going to be those clues that, go way faster than just thinking about it. So action is what wakes up your gifts, not waiting. Every tiny move, it turns up the volume a little bit louder on what those natural strengths are. Even the small wins are going to build to the next one. Now, the 8th one is about integrate, don't add. Now here is a deep truth that you need to understand. You don't need more things on your plate. As a parent, as a entrepreneur, as an employee working a ton, you don't need it. You need to just weave these gifts and superpowers into the stuff you're already doing. One of the biggest lies that keeps sucking people in is thinking I don't have time to use my gifts. Well, gosh, when you're already stretched thin with kids, a business, grinding day to day in the job, the last thing you want is another thing to add to your list. But here's the flip. Your gifts aren't supposed to feel like extra work. They're supposed to lighten the work that you're already doing day to day. So instead of cramming new tasks in your schedule, start blending the strengths into what you're already doing in everyday life. Research shows that when you integrate new habits into what you're already doing versus trying to just start new ones, you're 71% more likely to stick with them. That transformation doesn't happen by stacking more. It happens when you're doing things already and you just start doing them a little differently. So pick one of the things you want to do regularly: meetings, bedtime with your kids, call with clients, whatever it is. And then ask yourself, how can I bring more of my natural strengths into it? It could be empathy, it could be storytelling, it could be, if you're great at visuals and such, whatever it is, just go and dive deeper, map out what the typical week would be, and start to find maybe those 2 or 3 activities where you could layer in your gifts without adding a single extra to-do to your life. Waiting until you have time, to use your gifts usually means that you never do. But when you start threading them into what you already have on your plate, everything's going to shift. You stop feeling torn between responsibilities, and you start being able to live more naturally, organically, authentically to your purpose and your values. Now, the last one I want to cover is celebrating the small wins of using your gifts along the way. Because this is the last one. It's a big one, and it's one that we skip way too often. If you want your gifts to grow, you have to celebrate using them, even if it's small. Most of us are pros at downplaying progress that we've made. We rush from one thing to the next, barely noticing the good that we've been creating. When you don't register the impact you're making, you start convincing yourself it's not real. Or worse enough, it's not enough. But the truth is, every time that you use your gifts, it makes a difference, even in a tiny way. That's evidence of your natural strengths that matter. Now, the wild part is that research shows that celebrating the little wins actually rewires your brain. Every time you pause and notice and appreciate the impact, you're going to strengthen the mental pathways that you use between your gifts feeling natural, making them feel more confident and more instinctive. Celebration isn't nice, it's brain training. So what you can do here is start with a journal. Do an impact journal that every time you catch yourself using your gifts, and create even small ways, what are the small positive results, and write them down. Maybe you organize, you grow with organization skills, set up, you set up a smoother routine with your kids, or the whole house feels calm, or maybe you spotted a trend at work and you saved your team hours of headache. Maybe you listened to a friend who really needed it and they felt seen and heard. It doesn't have to be big, just, it doesn't have to be fancy, just log it, whatever it is. And then once a week, take maybe 5-10 minutes to flip back through what you wrote and look for the patterns and notice the gifts and how you're using them naturally. Notice the impact. This little habit builds proof, not just hope. It shows you that your gifts are real and they're making a difference. Because if you don't slow down long enough to see the impact, self-doubt's going to sneak back in. Celebrating these small wins reminds you in your bones that you're already creating value and showing up with real strength. So the more you see it, the more you believe it, and the more you believe it, the more you can, be an unstoppable force with it. Now, we've covered a lot today. From noticing efforts and excellence to the small wins to celebrate. But the one thing I really want you to take away is that your dormant superpowers, they aren't hiding because you're broken or missing something. They're hiding because they're just not, they've been right in front of you all along. You just haven't seen them. They live in the stuff that you just brush off as no big deal. They're in the childhood joys that you have. They're in the moments that you lose track of time and feel more you than you have in years. This whole journey of awakening your gifts isn't about turning into something new. It's actually about getting back to who you've always been underneath all the noise and expectations. And you don't have to have it all figured out to start. Just pick one thing we talked about Maybe it's tracking your energy. Maybe it's that highlight reel. Maybe it's paying attention to the moments that feel effortless. Like, small steps will build momentum. Each time you recognize and use a piece of your natural gifts, you are rewiring yourself. You're creating proof, not just a feeling, but you're creating proof that you're built for impact. Now, if this hit home for you, if this has resignation with you, then I'd love for you to go down the description now, get a copy, go to Amazon, get a copy of the GIVER method. It will change your life. It's packed with tons of ways to help you to discover and develop your gifts in ways that are going to fit you in real life. Now, you can also grab that free resource, the GIVER Roadmap. Both links are going to be down in the description. Now, I would love to hear from you in the comments. Which of the things stood out to you today? Which principle stood out to you the most? What small move are you going to take this week to start waking up those dormant superpowers? Just remember that your superpowers, they aren't waiting for the perfect moment. They're just waiting for you to notice them, to nurture them, and to start using them in, right where you are now. You don't have to be extraordinary to start, but they will make you extraordinary. You start realizing how extraordinary you already have it and that you already are, and you can show up more authentic in that way. So with that, I'll just say until next time, please just keep showing up, keep discovering your gifts, keep creating the impact that only you can make. The world is waiting for your gifts and superpowers. And I promise you that when you find these, start using them to create value for others, that the universe will have so many ways of paying you back over time. I've seen it time and time again. And so with that, I will tell you, have a great rest of your day, and we'll catch you in our next video.